access it. And a browser could be Internet Explorer, it could be Safari on an Apple, right? It could be Chrome, it could be Firefox, it could be Opera, right? Insert browser name and you've got it, right? You can work on it from a PC, you can work on it from an Apple. So in the old days, you used to have terminal server. You guys familiar with terminal server? New world, it's called remote desktop. Okay, you may have seen that term out. That's another way to do it, is through remote desktop. The cloud is dependent on internet connectivity. Okay, and we, in the metropolitan area, we get spoiled because we've got great connectivity. As you get out in the rural community, connectivity can be a challenge, right? The cloud is based upon you having connectivity, right, at your location. Whether it is in your office, whether it is via 3 or 4G, whether it is a Panera or a hotspot, you've got to have connectivity. So yes, we can move that server off-site, and we have multiple carriers coming in here and to feed us. So we're not concerned about our internet connectivity, we would be concerned with your internet connectivity. We had some folks in this morning, and one of them has web apps. So he's got hosted applications, and he's got web applications out there, and it doesn't matter to him because his applications were built light. The gentleman next to him was from a housing authority. He's got traditional fat, what they call fat clients, really thick, heavy clients, and they take a lot of bandwidth. And that is an example, he was in Pontiac, right? And so he has he's got decent bandwidth, but he doesn't have great bandwidth. His was an example of where we would have to work with him, but the cloud may be, until he can get some better internet, he may be limited on what he can do in the cloud. So for us, in our model, we use a term called virtual private servers. So we would come in and in fact, we would go in and we would grab your server and we would virtualize it. And the price is built on, do you need a single processor, dual processor, quad processor, right? How much memory do you need? You need 2 gigs of RAM, and how much storage do you need, right? The storage component is one of those. Instead of saying, hey, well, your future growth is a terabyte, so we need to put a terabyte drive, even though you're 250 gig today, I'm only going to allocate you 250 today, because remember, I can change that number tomorrow if you grow. If you need a server and you need a single processor, Xeon processor, I need 2 gig of RAM and I need 200 gig of storage, that's what we're allocating to. But you could come back and say, wow, you know what, ran it for a couple days, can you get me 2 more gig of RAM? Sure. Submit a ticket, a data center team adds it dynamically. Within a few minutes, with a reboot, you got RAM in there. Let's say, hey, you know what, I wanted 6 gig, man, stats only show I only need 2, can you back that down? Sure. Each cloud provider is different. So you need to ask how your cloud provider does it, right? I know what we do here, right? I don't know what Amazon does. I don't know what Google does, right? You need to ask. I don't know what your hosting provider does, right? Everyone's different, so just don't assume that it's secure. You need to ask and vet the questions on how's my data stored, where is it stored, how's it accessed, who has access to it. For instance, in our cloud, I can tell you, we have clients that are requiring us to be HIPAA compliant, so we'll meet all HIPAA standards. We have clients that are requiring us to be PCI compliant, and you guys are familiar with PCI, so that has to do with credit card transactions, right? So that's the handling and storing of information on that. And then we have clients that are requiring us to be what we call SAS 70, SAS 70, SAS 70 Type 2, which will be changing to SAE 16 this year, and that is housing and financial data. So as you go up the ladder, the SAS 70 / SAE 16 is one of the most rigorous standards out there. But it's all about it's physically who has access to the data, logically who has access to the data, how's it stored, audit procedures, who's auditing, the auditors, everything documented, right? You've got monthly checklists, you've got yearly checklists. pushing that off an STL to own that and provide that. Remember I talked to you guys about service level agreement, right? You're buying a service from us expecting it to be a 5 nines. You hear the term 5 nines, 99.99999. And that translates to what, 15 minutes? About 15 minutes outage a year, I think, out of where I know I've bought math is never my super strong street, but 24 times 60 and you do the math, that's what 99.9 is, and that's you'll hear that term 5 nines, 6 nines. It's the amount of uptime availability that you can expect out of the equipment. Cloud provider could provision things a little bit different, but how we provision, Gary, is that we have an infrastructure of enterprise class servers, and there's not one, there's multiple servers, and there are virtual servers on that. And if one physical box goes down, everything's smart enough to move from here to here, and you'll never even notice it. You won't even notice it will rotate itself. It's almost a self-healing type of environment. We manage that environment to a certain percentage of utilization. We would never max that out, right? The goal is that if we lost one piece of physical hardware, if you had 4 pieces in there and you lost one, other 3 have to be able to operate with one being gone, right? That's how we engineer it. So in that model, one example is you'd never know that would come over. We have the ability in additional high availability. There's a couple other techniques we can do to add to that. Our first philosophy is, or policy actually, is we're not your single source of data. Okay? So in the event that we suffer a major catastrophe over in the Blues, we don't want to be your single source of data. Okay? Tim mentioned about risk and insurance, single source of data. You get back into that. I didn't mitigate my risk. I just put all my risk in one basket. Right? We can help you take your data, maybe replicate it back to your location. Maybe you have an offsite copy. We have partnerships with data centers, 2 on the West Coast, developing 1 on the East Coast. By partnership, they are data centers similar to ours in size. They have single owners, as in Tim and Katie are, with the ownership of the companies. We share same type of engineering philosophies. We have similar equipment. Engineers are similar with the facilities. We actually have a client, the client I was telling you to do the background stuff. They needed to be out of this geographic area, right? We have a big, large geographic event. Let's say the power grid dies. That may be another thing. We can get out of the Midwest and go to the West Coast. Just though as they have clients on the West Coast want to get the heck out of the West Coast in case the tsunami hits over there, they want to come here. So we have created a fabric of data centers across the country that allows you to get out of a geographic area. It allows the East Coast to come to the Midwest, allows the Midwest to either go to either coast that you want to go to.